welcome once again to Real Shame. It's a show where we talk movies that we haven't seen for your viewing pleasure or audio pleasure, depending on how you decide to consume this. That's Andy, and I am
Adam.
I wanted to change it up. Earlier in the week, we talked about 1954's Godzilla, the original Toho Japanese Godzilla, because this week we got, two big titans going against each other, and that's going to be
Godzilla versus Kong.
Let's talk about that.
All right. It's the matchup we've been waiting at least 7 years for, ever since the release of 2014's Godzilla. Snooze fest.
I liked it.
That film was followed up by 2017's Kong Skull Island.
That's right.
And then 2019's Godzilla King of the Monsters. Not to be confused with the 1956 Godzilla King of the Monsters.
With the dude from
Raymond
Matlock.
Burr, yeah.
Is it Matlock?
Perry Mason.
Perry Mason, sorry.
Yeah, no Perry Mason in Godzilla King of the Monsters. Although there is a new Perry Mason on HBO.
Robert Downey Jr.
Finally, these two great beasts meet in 2021. It is Godzilla versus Kong. All right, so that's Godzilla vs. Kong out now, at least for a month, right? They do it for a month on HBO Max.
Yeah, I think that's how they're doing the co-releases between theaters and HBO Max.
And also in movie theaters for presumably longer than a month, I would assume. I'm sure this film is going to make some money. But we watched it on HBO Max.
We did, yep.
Recently, and since it's your week, you get to tell us a little bit, I guess, more about Godzilla vs. Kong. I see you've got some technical notes there.
So yeah, it's directed by Adam Wingard. He's a really well-known horror director. He did You're Next. He did some of the little things in VHS. He did the Blair Witch, the remake of that, which I think you've seen that, right?
Yes. Well, very forgettable.
But he also did a movie that I think you hold in high esteem, and that's The Guest.
Yes.
Right?
Very funny movie.
With Dan Stevens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like
so they brought him on to do this. Each of these Godzilla and King Kong movies, they've had different directors kind of come in and directed. They had Garth Edwards do 2014's. Then they had I can't remember the guy's name. He wanted to do a Metal Gear movie for Kong Skull Island, and then 2000 then Godzilla King of the Monsters was Michael Dougherty, who did Trick or Treat, and then this one we have Adam Wingard. So just a bunch of different directors kind of coming in and doing this. If you guys remember from my last episodes, I was hot on 2014's Godzilla. I know you're not. I like Kong Skull Island. On the second viewing, wasn't as big of a fan of it when I watched it the first time. And Godzilla King of the Monsters was like Transformers to me. It was just like cacophony and kind of not my jam. But this one, I liked. I like this one. I think this one took what Godzilla King of the Monsters did and just like made it a little bit better. I like the story better of Godzilla King of the Monsters, and we can get into story later. We'll add a spoiler alert for this since this is a brand new release, and all that kind of stuff. And we can talk about that if we ever get to spoilers. But I like the story of Godzilla King of the Monsters better. But this one I like that there's not as many monsters fighting, right? That one I felt like they threw every single monster they could have access to into the movie, and this one they distilled it down to a few things, and I like that. So I kind of saw the ending coming a little bit when I watched it, because of the way one of the characters said it. But overall, I liked it. I think if they keep on making movies of this ilk, I'll watch them.
Yeah,
especially if they come on HBO Max, because what's the barrier to entry on that is like super low, right?
Right.
It's just, do I have 2 hours to watch this or whatever, hour and a half or so? I think it's cool. I don't think it's going to set the world on fire, but I had a lot of fun with watching it. What'd you think about Godzilla versus Kong?
So I did rewatch Godzilla before, I had not seen Kong Skull Island when it came out, and I want to say before I saw Godzilla King of the Monsters 2 years ago in 2019, I rewatched the original Godzilla, don't like it, and then I watched Kong Skull Island for the first time, and then I went and saw Godzilla King of the Monsters, but I don't remember a whole lot about any of them, honestly. Just that's how my brain is nowadays. But Godzilla King of the Monsters, it has Godzilla, it has Ghidorah,
Yeah.
it has Mothra. Is there other?
Rodan.
It also has Rodan.
Yeah, Rodan's like the Firebird, right?
Okay. So it's got 4 monsters total, or does it have more than that?
Well, it has like Monster Zero, which I guess is Ghidorah, right? Because Ghidorah is the one with multiple heads.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I want to say it like has 4 or 5. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I like Godzilla King of the Monsters. That's it. First of all, that's the only one that I've actually seen in theaters. All these other ones, including obviously Godzilla vs Kong, I watched on television. So Godzilla King of the Monsters, and maybe that's why I was so high on it, because it was just like very.
It's a good theatrical
face.
experience. Yeah,
Yeah, and so maybe that's why I was so high. I mean, again, not saying I would rewatch it and not like it. I have no idea how I'd feel, but I liked it a lot because I think 2014's Godzilla is just very boring. Like the Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen are boring, and I don't really care about it. And I don't feel like you get enough Godzilla in that movie personally. And then Kong Skull Island, I feel like. And I know I'm in the minority, but I feel like John C. Reilly sinks that movie. Like I don't like him. Yeah, I really don't like him. And I know everybody's like, "What? How could you not?" But I don't. But Godzilla King of the Monsters, I liked all the different monsters in it. Maybe it was too much for you, but I liked all the different monsters in it. Godzilla vs Kong, I don't like as much as I remember liking Godzilla King of the Monsters. I think it's okay. I think there's a lot of stuff, and we can get into it, and we can say spoilers or whatever. But I think there's a lot of stuff that I just frankly could not care less about.
Yeah.
That's in the film. But overall, I thought it was decent. I mean, it's like you said, it's probably not going to set the world on fire. But I feel like it scratches that itch if you want to see these two giant monsters go together, and along with some other additional kind of things that we'll get into. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Not great. Good, not great. Decent. Again, if you're hankering for some giant monsters fighting, I feel like you get a significant amount of that. And when that's not happening on screen, I was kind of like, But I mean, I think we could say that about all these movies, about even the original Godzilla. We're like, hurry up and get to more Godzilla. Yeah. Even King Kong, it's like, hurry up and get to Kong. Anyway,
how do you feel about the fights? Like, let's not talk about overall, not specifics. Like, I think. Some of the fights are interesting, like especially the ones that take place in the city are cool looking and stuff like that. And I think they're rendered well. It doesn't look. And what do you think about? Do you think the special effects are good? Right?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see any like massive flaws. I wasn't like, oh, that looks terrible, or that looks like shit, or whatever.
I mean, they've had to like size up King Kong like for all these these movies, right? Because like he scaled the Empire State Building, and in the original, and you can't really do that. Well, no, was it the Empire State Building in the original?
Yeah, that's what he claims.
But you can't really. These guys are way too big to do that kind of stuff nowadays, right?
Right.
All right. Well, I think we should give a spoiler warning.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
So if you have not seen Godzilla vs Kong and you don't want to know anything about it, don't watch any further.
Yeah. But we give it a recommendation. If you have nothing better to do and you want to watch something fun, you could spend 2 hours doing much worse with your time, or 2.5 hours, or however long it is.
Agreed.
All right.
Spoilers.
I have a question. When is podcasting and podcasters going to be passe in movies? I feel like we're kind of. I feel like we're running that well dry a little bit. Don't you believe?
Yeah.
Just like the guy. I'm tired of plot points and stuff like that being communicated through these podcasts and stuff like that. Maybe the general public isn't. I mean, obviously we have like a kind of podcast show.
Yeah.
But I find it very, very tiresome.
So you don't care for is Brian Tyree Henry, something like that? You don't care for that character.
Yeah, I don't. I think he was really, because he was in Get Out, right? And he kind of like shined really bright in Get Out, I think. Because he was his friend that worked at the TSA, wasn't he?
I thought that was Rel.
Was it? I don't know. I think I'm showing my naivety. I don't know. Maybe everyone's mad because I did that. But I mean, I like him as an actor, Brian Tyree Henry. But yeah, I don't think he brought a whole lot. He was kind of like spastic and just kind of all over the place. But I think also just having this podcast being the through line kind of didn't bring much.
Yeah. So that whole part of the plot, subplot, whatever you want to call it, with him and with the Millie Bobby Brown character and I don't know the kid's
Hunt
name.
for the Wilder People.
Yeah,
Dennison.
Ricky Baker from Hunt for the Wilder People, and Deadpool 2, right?
Yeah,
The crazy kid.
I think his last name's like Dennison or something like that.
Okay, him, My Prerogative, Millie Bobby Brown, and Brian Tyree Henry. That whole storyline does nothing for me. Absolutely nothing. They do play a part, especially later on in the film when, and again, we're spoiling, when Mecha Godzilla shows up. They do play a part in that, but it's just.
Yeah,
I never care. Every time it cut to them, and because the podcaster Brian Tyree Henry is so manic and crazy, and
over the top.
I was like, oh, okay, come on, So we could have excised that completely. I would have been fine with just the what's it, Alexander Skarsgård, and I think her name is Rebecca Hall.
Yep.
I'm fine with them, and I see you wrote Kyle Chandler.
Yeah, you said this, so
Kyle Chandler has nothing to do in this film. I mean, I know he's in Godzilla King of the Monsters. He's not in the original Godzilla, I don't think.
No, because we had Bryan Cranston. I think he passed away.
Off quickly,
And then we have Aaron Taylor Johnson, who I guess doesn't want to make an appearance anymore.
Yeah, so Kyle Chandler, he's still waiting on Kick-Ass 3 to come out. Give me that call, guys.
He's upset that WandaVision didn't call him.
Right. So Kyle Chandler's in Godzilla King of the Monsters, and so is Vera Farmiga. She plays Millie Bobby Brown's mother.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
So she's not in this. But Kyle Chandler was like, I'll do Godzilla versus Kong, but I only want to do 5 minutes of screen time because he doesn't do anything in this film.
He's got to collect that paycheck.
I guess he does. I like Kyle Chandler just fine, but it's like what
give
him a little bit more to do.
He probably has 3 lines in this movie. Yeah. And I'm not I think he literally has 3 lines in this movie.
Yeah. He's like, "Where's my daughter? Oh, there's my daughter." Yeah. Whatever. So it's like, okay.
And then he's looking for her in Singapore where they wind up, and it's like I thought the phone cut out, so you couldn't really hear where she was from, but he looked like he was looking for her.
Yeah.
So was the Mecha Godzilla a surprise to you when it happened?
I didn't know he was in the movie. I didn't know what they were going to do. I thought because at one part. Well, when they go into the Hollow Earth thing, they talk about there may be more Kongs down there. I was kind of hoping there'd be an army of Kongs, maybe.
That'd be
something
cool.
I thought they would do something like that. They don't do that, unfortunately. But I mean, it's still cool that they have Godzilla and Kong and then Mecha Godzilla. So I thought that was neat. And one of the characters is named Serizawa, just like in the original Godzilla. So I thought that was kind of cool. There's probably lots of other Easter eggs, but because we don't know we don't know the Godzilla folklore, mythology, or whatever you want to call it, then we probably missed all of it. But I'm sure there's a lot.
As soon as Brian Tyree Henry said that thing looked like an eye in the movie, I'm like, oh, Mecha Godzilla's in this movie. Yeah. And because those showing Apex was this technology, this robotics company, and so as soon as he said that, I kind of put 2 and 2 together. I think it's cool seeing Mecha Godzilla. I mean, I don't think he looks as cool as the old school Mecha Godzilla. He looks a little too transformery and looks a little too diminutive in size. I think height wise he matches Godzilla, but his how wide he is, he looks really narrow to me, and I don't think that's as cool.
Yeah.
I think it's as soon as they said for King Kong to go in that hole, because I watched Kong Skull Island, I was like, well, Kong's parents are dead on that island. They find their bones.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, it's not gonna be his parents. Maybe it's gonna be his uncle or something, but I had no hope for that. I think it's interesting that he gets a Thor's hammer kind of thing that can get charged by Godzilla and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I think we kind of hinted at it a little bit. I think I didn't like the water battle that much. Did you like that one?
I mean, it's definitely not as cool as when they fight later.
Then they fight in the city, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a big battle, right?
Yeah.
I like how it's shot in the city. I like how colorful the buildings are. I've never been to. I think it's in Shanghai is where it takes place. Or is it Hong Kong?
I thought it was Hong Kong. But
okay, maybe it's Hong Kong. I might misremember.
Me too.
But I think that city looks cool. I like how the buildings are. I like how claustrophobic it feels, even with these big guys and all that. And I love the colors. I think the colors of the buildings and stuff, the neon that kind of goes around these skyscrapers, really makes it for me and stuff like that. Makes it look cool.
I agree. It looked really cool. I mean, the battle out on the water is not terrible, but it's not as good as the one later on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And for me, all the human stuff could be excised. I didn't like Rebecca Hall and her adoptive daughter stuff like that. Take it or leave it. I didn't like Alexander Skarsgård's thing about the Hollow Earth and all that heave or whatever, that ship that they go down there, the spaceship or whatever.
And then the one girl who's kind of like the villain. She's the main guy's or the what's the Apex guy's daughter.
Yeah, the owner of Apex, he's her daughter.
I don't remember her name. She's in Baby Driver.
To get like the energy signature and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then like that whole scene feels very like Jurassic World to me. Like where people are running around and you have all those like pterodactyls picking people off and from the park and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that felt very of that for when we were watching this kind of movie. And then the same thing kind of happens to like the one lady that was like kind of the babysitter that was always on her phone in Jurassic World. Spoiler for that movie. It happens to this lady who's the daughter of that guy.
Yeah.
Of the Apex guy. So I meant, like I said, if I would have watched this movie again, I'd probably just watch that battle for Singapore. I guess I wrote Singapore. I don't know. I'd watch that final battle. Maybe not the Mecha Godzilla part, but the Godzilla versus Kong part. But I kind of knew going into it that it wasn't going to always be a knockout, drag-out fight between Godzilla and Kong, that there was going to be another...
Yeah. Something else has got to... Yeah. Get injected in there.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about Godzilla versus Kong and our spoiler things?
Nope.
I know we're kind of early with critic reviews. They kind of come in before the movie, they kind of come in during the movie, and then sometimes they come in afterwards. But at the time of this taping, where are the audience? Where are the critics with this stuff?
At the time of this taping, Rotten Tomatoes, it's 76% fresh and 94% audience score.
Yeah.
So it's a crowd pleaser. But I agree with you. I mean, I wasn't crazy about Godzilla. I wasn't crazy about Kong Skull Island. I did like Godzilla King of the Monsters. I do like Godzilla versus Kong. Maybe not as much as Godzilla King of the Monsters. But if they make more of these, I will continue to watch them because why not?
They're like a little bit better Transform movies. Like a little bit easier to, not as cacophonous as Transform movies, but it's kind of like Transform movie.
I've only seen the first Transformers, but yeah, that was enough for me. Yeah. I didn't need to see it anymore.
That's the best one of all.
Oh, that's scary.
Except for Bumblebee. Bumblebee's really good.
I couldn't stand it. I haven't seen Bumblebee either.
All right, so that was our take on Godzilla versus Kong. On these Wednesday episodes, we always like to answer viewers' questions. And since we're doing, two movie monsters versus each other, let's talk about some other movie mashups that we would like to see happen. I got a little bit going on, but I'm going to throw it over to you. What are some movie mashups that you'd like to see brought out to the big screen?
All right. I've got a few, definitely deep cuts on my list.
Yeah, go for it.
But first I'll start with an easy one. I've always wanted to see Leatherface duke it out with somebody. I mean, I know he's just got a chainsaw, but still, I think Leatherface, isn't he in like one of the Mortal Kombat games or something as like an unlockable character? Maybe
that would not surprise me if it's true.
I want to say he's in like some kind of fighting game, but maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part. I have no idea. But I think Leatherface, I don't think he would be evenly matched up with somebody like Freddy, because Freddy's kind of super powered almost. So, he can get in your dreams and he can make weird shit happen. But I think Leatherface would be good matched up against somebody like Jason. Although Leatherface is mortal and apparently Jason is not. I don't know.
I think it's pretty easy to make Leatherface immortal, though.
Yeah. But I would like to see Leatherface duke it out against somebody like Jason, because they're both kind of big, lumbering, slow guys. Yeah. Leatherface could have his chainsaw, Jason could have his machete, and they can go at it in their slow way.
Yeah, have you seen Freddy vs. Jason? Mm-hmm. I like that movie. I don't think the dialogue holds up for nowadays. Like, I watched it within the last 2 years, and the dialogue's laughable at this point.
Oh, really?
Because it's early 2000 dialogue, and, just kind of like, they use terms that we don't use nowadays because they're not PC.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. And, but I like it. I like the idea of Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah, I remember seeing it when it came out. Yeah, I liked it.
So I like the idea of Leatherface versus Jason. We can bring Mike Myers in the mix. We haven't seen him do it. I know comic books, there is a Freddy versus Jason versus Ash from the Evil Dead. So I would like to see that. Maybe we can just bring like all 5 of them. We can have Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, Mike Myers, and Ash Williams. Ash Williams, who has to take down all of them, would be cool in my book.
Yeah.
I have Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. I'd like to see that kind of redone again with modern audiences in mind, and I'd like to see Bruce Campbell brought back in as Ash Williams.
That'd be cool.
Because the Evil Dead series was fun. TV series was a lot of fun in my book. What else do you have on your list? I think you have more than me, so that's why I'm tossing it over to you.
So you've got Freddy versus Jason. I said maybe Leatherface versus Jason. I'd like to see Freddy go up against Wishmaster.
That'd be cool.
Because they both can kind of do mystical things. Again. Yeah. I think that'd be neat. If you know the Wishmaster series.
Yeah. I watched the first one not too long ago.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun. Yeah, it was fun.
Fun.
All right, I'm going to go back to the comic books again. And, I think comic book nerds have been talking about this for the ages. And there was a run that kind of did this. But I think we need to do our Marvel versus DC kind of stuff. I think Marvel Studios and DC and Warner Brothers need to bury the hatchet for at least one or two movies and have a big Avengers-style kind of fight. Because we have the multiverse and Marvel coming out now, and I think the DC has hinted at that with the Flash, so we can multiverse them together and get Superman versus Thor and Iron Man versus Batman and all that kind of cool stuff. So I think movie audiences would love to see a Marvel versus DC mashup because I know I do.
Yeah, I would watch that. I'd buy that for $1. So going along the same lines of maybe two big franchises going together, and because in, I think maybe about a month, also on HBO Max and I guess in theaters, Mortal Kombat.
Yep.
The new Mortal Kombat is coming out, and we actually recently rewatched both 90s Mortal Kombat as well as some of the Mortal Kombat Legacy television series. So we're primed and ready for Mortal Kombat, but you got to do a movie version of Mortal Kombat versus Street Fighter.
Yeah.
And again, did they do that as a video game at some point, or did they talk about doing it? I can't remember.
I know there's like a Capcom versus
that's right, yeah,
SNK, and I know there's like
maybe that's what
there's Street Fighter versus X-Men and all those, and I love those games. Yeah. I don't know if there's been a Mortal Kombat versus Street Fighter, but I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, do something like that. Because obviously Street Fighter came out in the 90s, the movie, Mortal Kombat, both Mortal Kombat's came out in the 90s. Yeah. I don't think any of those were really well received, but hopefully this new Mortal Kombat will be good. Maybe they could do a new Street Fighter movie for the, the 2020s, do a new Street Fighter movie, and then have them all duke it out together. You have Scorpion or Sub-Zero versus Guile or whatever. I don't know.
We get Jackie Chan back to play Chun-Li.
Yeah, that's right. Chun-Li versus Melina.
There you go.
Whatever.
What else?
Before I get into, I've got two deep cuts. But one guy that you definitely heard of is Chucky the doll. Yep. You could pair him up. I was thinking about a lot of different kind of dolls. So first of all, from the Full Moon Studio, you've got the Demonic Toys. You've got the Puppet Master puppets.
Yep.
So you could have Chucky versus any of those because they're all kind of about the same size. Chucky versus Demonic Toys. Chucky versus some of the Puppet Master toys.
Chucky versus
puppets.
Small soldiers.
Chucky versus small soldiers. There you go. Now you're thinking. And then also, if you've ever seen Trilogy of Terror with Karen Black, or even Trilogy versus Terror, I think the second one, they both have the little Zuni fetish doll that's maniacal and carries a little knife. You could have Chucky versus the Zuni fetish doll. Although I think Chucky's a lot bigger because the Zuni fetish doll is like really small. So maybe we'll ixnay that one. But Chucky versus Demonic Toys or Chucky versus Puppet Master, I'm in. Front row.
I will tell you there is a Demonic Toys versus Puppet Master movie.
Yes, I've not seen it, but I've seen like the box for it. Yes, I should watch that.
All right, and I'll let you finish up with your
last two deep cuts. So there is a Larry Cohen movie from the early 1980s called Q, which is about a giant winged monster. Q actually stands for, and I'm not going to say this right, but Quetzalcoatl.
Okay.
The ancient, I think it's a Mayan god or Mayan creature. So Q, because I'm not going to say the full name again. Q versus somebody like Mothra because they both fly.
Okay.
Maybe something like that. Because I was, I had Godzilla on the brain.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, who could Mothra go? Because I was like, Mothra versus Kong. But I was like, nah. I need Mothra because it could fly against something else that can fly. And because we haven't seen Q since 1982 or whatever.
Bring back Q.
Q versus Mothra. And then my final one, and this is probably the deepest cut of all. We recently watched a movie called The Fear. Remember that from the 90s? That Vinegar Syndrome put out. And it has this wooden doll type thing that they call Morty.
Yep, Morty.
It's not a good movie.
No,
it's not the worst movie, and it was fun to kind of make fun of. But Morty versus there's another late 80s horror film called Pin, Pin, that has like a medical doll that this kid is obsessed with. It's got Terry O'Quinn in it. Terry O'Quinn. Can't go wrong with him. Pin versus Morty. Pin versus Morty.
I will pay, of all the movies we mentioned, I'll pay the most money for Pin versus Morty.
You've got an obscure 1980s horror film with an obscure 1990s horror film, but maybe not so obscure now that Vinegar Syndrome has put out a deluxe Blu-ray of it. But you've got an obscure 1980s, obscure 1990s film, both with two kind of human-sized doll-type creatures they can fight.
Hey, we might have someone that's entrepreneurial watching this that can say, hey, who knows, maybe the rights for Penn and Morty are like $1 a piece. And then you can write that movie. And you know what? Vinegar Syndrome will probably put it out for you.
They probably will. That's all the ones I got, though.
All right. Well, that's all our versus movies. If you have a versus or a mashup movie that you're thinking of that we didn't say, let us know. Leave us a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube, or shoot us an email, realshame@gmail.com. We answer viewer questions like this one at that email address, realshame@gmail.com. Follow us on social media. We're on Instagram at realshame. Like, subscribe, share the show, because that really does help spread the word, and we do appreciate that. And stay tuned next week as we cross movies off of Andy's list of shame. And we'll see you soon, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.